Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to another office hours for the FastStore beta. My name is Victor, and I'm a software engineer here at VTEX. I'm currently working on the FastStore team, and I'll also be your host for today's event. So let's get started. Okay, so our first section for today is the announcement section, and in this section we'll be bringing you the latest news from the team to keep you up to date with what we've been working on, some release notes, some cool events coming up maybe, or sometimes just ask you for some feedback. And today we actually have a very important updates on documentation, and Pedro is here to tell us a bit more about that. Hey, Pedro.
Hi Miranda, how you doing?
We're fine, you?
I'm great. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me. So yeah, we got some exciting updates to documentation, and I hope it helps our developers out there. And the first first thing I want to talk about is FastStore API reference documentation. I have been here a couple weeks ago to talk about the descriptions that we made available through GraphQL. Well, now we have something more structured on the FastStore docs portal. So you can see we have the complete tables here with the all the types, and you can click through the types and see the definitions. But also we have a page for each query with more details and use cases and examples, right? And there's even a GraphQL playground with which you can actually run the examples in order to test them and see what the response is like. We have a list of fields, like in all products, we can see list of fields that you can query with each of those queries. And by next week, we hope to have something similar for the mutations, right? For now, we have these pages, but very soon we will have more exciting news, documentation news in the FastStore API reference doc. Uh, Speaking of other more reference doc, we have the card and the button docs, which are now available on the FastStore UI reference. So we have documentation on each of those components. And we have more details like use cases and best practices, each of the props that you can use. And the button is in FastStore UI Atoms, and the card FastStore UI Molecules. You can check it out and use them in your projects. Something else that is very exciting is our playground, and we have a new page for the playground, and it basically links to this code sandbox you can launch, and it runs on your browser, and you can use it to play around with FastStore even before you decide to actually create a project. And so it's a very interesting way to first get started with exploring FastStore. Well, the last but not least documentation I wanted to talk to you about is our troubleshooting FastStore documentation. We have this guide which goes through the ins and outs of troubleshooting that you must be aware. And there's this cool diagram here that summarizes basically the main information that you will need, right, through this process. But I guess this is going to be very helpful. And also, as part of the FastStore documentation team, we would love to hear your experience with our documentation portal. So there's a survey here which you can see, and it would be awesome if you guys could take a little bit of time to answer this. And that's it. Some of the things I just mentioned are in the will be in the change log soon, so pretty official. But that's it for now.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. I mean, I love to see some interactive documentation, right? I think that's gonna help. Like that's gonna help a lot for people to be able to explore the things that we already have, right? Such as FastStore API. And that code sandbox also looks awesome. I didn't know that it was there, so I'm gonna test it later. That's awesome as well.
Yes.
And yeah, it's gonna make everyone's life's easier, even if they are already using the FastStore, but maybe they want to create a new GraphQL query and they don't know how the output will look at FastStore API. And so it's just easier to go to the documentation and run it there, right? Instead of having to fire it up locally and so on.
Yes,
So
for sure.
awesome. Love that. Thanks a lot,
That's
Pedro.
great. Thank you. See you later.
See ya. Okay, awesome. So that's what we had for today in terms of announcements. Just don't forget to check out our release notes on faststore.dev/releases. Things are usually posted there before they come here to the office hours. So keep an eye there and you might get that's the best way to keep up to date. Okay? Awesome. So moving on to our next section, which is Ask the Community. And this section is all about you. It's all about the developer community. This is where we bring some of your questions from VTEX Community here to the office hours so that we can give more in-depth answers and more people get to see them because we're bringing them here. And we also get usually some pretty cool guests as well. But just something that we've noticed when we were kind of like putting the questions together, we've noticed that we've not been, we haven't been receiving as many questions as we used to. And like you will see today that we only have like 2 questions. And I think last week we also had just a few questions. We're considering changing the frequency of these office hours to like maybe bi-weekly. But then we would like to hear from you. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think like having this event weekly but shorter is like maybe not as useful as having a bigger one bi-weekly? So let us know. Give us some feedback here in the YouTube chat, and we'll take a look at that and take that into consideration. Okay, awesome. So let's start with the first question. Okay, so this first question is about having some issues regarding the synchronization between what is shown in the checkout and then what's shown in the minicard, right? When you're actually like viewing the store. And well, Eric posted this question from Corbis. He linked also a nice PR that we have here. I already had it open. But this PR basically tries to solve the same problem, which is basically when you go to the checkout and you place an order, for example, you have some items on your mini card, right? Because well, you just came from your store to the checkout. Then you go and you complete your sale. Awesome. You just bought something. Sometimes when you went back to the store, the items that you had previously on your card were still there. Like they were still there. So what was happening was that the order form was not being reset, right? And also like maybe you had your store open on multiple tabs, and then you made a change in one tab, and then it would not reflect on the other unless you did a refresh and everything. Or sometimes it just wouldn't update. You had to close it and then go there and check the updated mini card. Well, there were some issues with syncing the mini card with checkout and within like different tabs of the same store. Okay. But then to kind of solve that, we had this PR here on FastStore. that describes like what was the issue, how are we solving it. And basically what we did is we added a new property into the store's order form, and this property has the same effect that an e-tag would have for caching. This is kind of a pretty normal technique that is used for caching stuff, right? You have a bunch of data, and then you give it that data a tag of some sort, and then the next time you request that data, you see if the tag, you generate a tag, and then you see if the tag matches. It means that your data hasn't changed, so you don't need to compare everything. You just look to the tags. Okay, we employed pretty much the same idea on the order form. Okay, so now your order form on your stores will have kind of this e-tag that says like, oh, this is the content of this order form. As you can see here in the PR description, this is generated based on your items currently added to your order form. So what if you have your order form, you have your store, and then you open it in another tab, for example, and change an item. This array here, right, order form.items, is going to be different. So when you generate this e-tag again, it's going to give a different value. And this is going to treat like, we can check that and notice that, okay, something is different in the order form. So use the latest version. Okay, that's the basic idea. Then I recommend that you all like take a look at this PR, because it's like, it actually explains how to use this and how it's enabled. Here we have a new feature flag that's called enable order form sync. This, by the way, is probably what Eric did, and that's why he was experiencing some problems. Like, yes, exactly that. Like, he enabled the order form sync, but the problem is this feature is not so like plug and play. It's not just set this to true and then it's gonna work. Okay, you have to do a bit more work. It's also described here. Where is it? Here. You have to like actually go into your store and add a customized field to the order form. And this process is not, I mean, you can just follow the documentation and do that yourself. But then we made something that should make this easier for everyone. And we actually have documentation on that as well, which is right. Oh, I should have I should have opened the documentation for. Oh, I have it here. There you go. We have some documentation on how to set up a VTEX account for FastStore. This is now part of the whole setup process for a new account. But like, if you try to use the order form sync feature, you have to run this command right here, VTEX FastStore setup. Okay, this documentation goes in detail, like, okay, how can I actually do this? You're gonna need the VTEX 2 belt. I'm assuming that many of you already know that, but if you don't, VTEX 2 belt is just VTEX CLI that has a bunch of functionalities. That's like it's super useful for you to work with VTEX IO, but well, since FastStore also uses a VTEX account, you can also use the VTEX CLI. And then there's a plugin called FastStore. Then you install the plugin and run this command, VTEX FastStore setup. Okay, just run this at the root of your account, the account that you're using for FastStore. And this account will take care of all of the setup that's needed to make the order form work as expected. Then you shouldn't have any more problems. Oh yeah, just one more notice. You need to be using the latest version of FastStore API. Okay, you have to make sure that you're using the latest version of VTEX API, FastStore API, and you have to run this command so that it sets up everything with the order form. It adds that custom e-tag feature that I talked about, and then everything should be synced up and everything should be working. Okay, so this popped up more than once, so I know that there are more. But it's not only this store that's having this issue. So if you're experiencing like weird behavior after you're enabling this functionality, take a look at this documentation and try to run VTEX FastStore setup and see if it works now. And make sure you're using the latest version of FastStore API. Okay, that's it. Hope to be useful. Awesome. Okay, so I think we can go to the next one. Awesome. So this is about login and checkout. Oh yeah, people are having some troubles when trying to follow our current documentation on how to properly integrate a store made with FastStore with both the login and the checkout. Just to give you a bit more detail, the current login that we have and the checkout are not provided by the same technologies that we use to on FastStore, right? So it's kind of like you have your store, and when you go to the checkout, it's almost as if you've left your store and went somewhere else, and that's our checkout. And the login is the same thing. Okay, so the login just runs on VTEX.io normally, and the checkout doesn't run on VTEX.io, but it's the default. If you had a VTEX.io store, it's the same thing, right? On VTEX.io is the same. When you go to the checkout, it's almost like you went to another website, right? It's not rendered by VTEX.io and everything. Anyway, and this doesn't work out of the box, right? Because when you get a store on FastStore, if you're using either Gatsby or Next, doesn't make any difference here. On both of them, you will notice that like the login page and the login route and the checkout route, they don't actually implement the login and the checkout, right? They're simply redirecting you to another domain. And for that to work properly, you have to set up a subdomain. And like, because you will be rendering different pages. Like these pages are not being rendered by Gatsby or Next, right? They're just being rendered by, Portal, or like the legacy CMS. Okay. So, and then like Alan was asking, like, okay, I followed your tutorial, which is here, like hosting a FastStore plus VTEX website. Here it tells you like how to set this up, and he was having issues with this step right here, getting the IP address of your website, and then like using NS lookup. Then you get the IP, and then you go on from there, right? Then you configure the subdomains and everything. He was having trouble with that because yes, like we ask you to do something that that doesn't make that much sense, because we're asking you to like, okay, look at your IP address running NS lookup and get that IP address and set it up elsewhere. But the thing is like this IP is dynamic, right? It's gonna change. So like the value that you got today it's probably not gonna be the same that you get tomorrow. So this whole setup like doesn't make much sense. So we just letting you know that we are aware of that. We are aware that like this tutorial has some issues. It's not only with the first step. There are a few other steps that the SRE team told us that, hey, this doesn't make that much sense. So we're reviewing that. We're working on like updating that, and we will have a new version of we will have a new version of this documentation updated with like the step by step that you can actually follow. But for now, just ignore this first step, okay? Just ignore this getting the IP address of your website step, okay? Ignore this, and you can like the configuring your website domain. You shouldn't have any issues with. Okay, so yeah, for now, ignore that step. We will have an updated documentation as soon as possible. Okay, that's it. Awesome. So those were all the questions that we had for today. As I already said, we had very few questions. So we got some questions today actually, but we couldn't get around to actually answering them. I think it was pretty sure it was two new questions. We couldn't like answer them in time to bring them for you today, but In the next office hours, they will be here. We'll try to answer them in between these two events. But anyway, just keep posting your questions there. We don't know why we're getting much less questions than we used to. But anyway, also give us some feedback on if you're okay with this event becoming bi-weekly, if it makes sense, or if you think that's too big of an interval. Anyway, just give us feedback on that. And just a quick reminder that when you are posting your questions on VTEX Community, don't forget to add the office hours tag to your question, so that we can know that you want them to be featured here on office hours. Okay, so there you go. And it also makes our lives a bit easier, right, when you're looking up for the questions. Okay, awesome. So final section for today. This is the demo. Okay, so the demo section, it's kind of self-explanatory, but this is this is usually when we show you something nice working, something that we've worked on, and something that, well, we actually demonstrate something for you. Not only us, but this is also open to everyone in the community. So, for example, today, unfortunately, we don't have any demos. But if any of you want to, I forgot to hide that. If any of you want to come here and present at the office hours, you can just fill in the form at community.vtex.com/office hours beta. Then you have a form there that you can let us know that you want to come to the office hours and present something. We would love to have you here. We were very happy when we actually got the submissions. And I mean, I'm sure you all have something that would be cool to show here. Maybe you solved the cool problem that you were having using FastStore. Maybe the store that you were working on just went live, so you can come here and show everyone. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that you're doing some amazing stuff. So we would love to see, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the community would get something from that as well. Okay, so there you go. Here's your invite. Please come here to the office hours and demo something. Okay, awesome. And that's all that we had for you today. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a like. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.